Pink Floyd, third album. This one is the soundtrack of the film More by Barbet Schroeder. It is a 1969 foreign film by Barbet Schroeder, and it is basically about a fella who meets a girl, a woman, and they sort of come together, so to speak. I'm not going to call it love or romance or anything. It was just more sort of a coming together, and they later become addicted to heroin, and they have to work these problems out in their lives. And there's many different scenes, party scenes, or scenes where they're on the island of I think it's Ibiza by themselves. There's it's action. It's a little bit of, it's a 60s film, sort of a cult film. So if you haven't watched More by Barbet Schroeder, you might want to check it out. So let's get into the Pink Floyd album part of it. It is the third album released by Pink Floyd. And with it being a movie soundtrack, Pink Floyd worked on a few movies in the 60s and 70s. This being the first. I think they worked on More, Zabriskie Point. I think there was one called The Commitments, or The Committee, I think. That's one of the relatively obscure, not films, but works of Pink Floyd, and Obscured by Clouds, the La Vallée, the Valley Obscured by Clouds. But this one was Barbet Schroeder, 1969, and Pink Floyd basically got together and they created an album, soundtrack for this guy. And of course the album cover is, you didn't see it earlier, this is a scene in the film where they go to the windmill. And this is also seen in the film, I think, when they're on the island. What Pink Floyd did in this album was they created an album that has a lot of different types of sound, a lot of genres, different genres in this album. You've got psychedelia, you've got hard rock, you've got jazz, sort of a jazz rock fusion type sound. You've got some sort of 60s lounge music. You've got some world mix music in there. You've got some minimalist sort of music. You've got Spanish music, Spanish guitar music. So what they did, they tried to, it's like a potluck of different sorts of sounds, a collage of different types of sounds for the film. And I think it works good. I think, for instance, the first song, Cirrus Minor, is a very surrealistic sort of soundscape and really sets the mood of the entire album, I think. And Cirrus Minor is actually one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs. It's relatively obscure. I think it's on the Relics album as well. So it's something that Pink Floyd put together, and I don't know how often they did it in concert, but I think it was very rare, if at all. I think the highlight of the album is Cymbeline. It's a song basically about a nightmare, and Pink Floyd featured it during the concerts that they put together called The Man and the Journey, which basically they put together a sound collage about a man and a journey. A man going through a journey, and Cymbeline was part of that. It was called Nightmare, and that's exactly what the song is about, according to Roger Waters, who wrote the song. So the song is very haunting, very minor chords in the song until you get to a major chord chorus where David Gilmour sings Cymbeline, and it could be related somehow to Shakespeare's Cymbeline. I don't know. But all I know is Roger Waters said it was about a nightmare. And this is the first time Roger Waters sort of addresses the concerns of the music industry, or his concerns with the music industry as well, because he talks about your manager and agent are both, let's see, how's it go? Manager and agent are both on the phone selling colored photographs to magazines back home, and that type of stuff. Rick Wright uses sort of a Turkish organ sound in Cymbeline, and a lot throughout this album as well. This became a concert staple for Floyd in the late 60s and early 70s. And sort of an extended version, especially in the Man and the Journey suite. Another song that you might enjoy from this album is called Green is the Color. There's a lot of songs that you would enjoy on this album. Cirrus Minor being one of them, Cymbeline, Green is the Color. If you like hard, heavy music, you may enjoy the Nile song. There's some spacey psychedelia in here, Quicksilver. So there's, like I said, there's all sorts of goodies on this little album. But Green is the Color is probably the closest Pink Floyd ever came to a love song. It's a very tender balladesque sort of acoustic guitar song. And in the concert, and live, when they were doing the concert, Green is the Color adapted the drums, and it became sort of a rocking song by the end of the song. But on this album, it's more subdued. And it sort of is the beginning of the pastoral Floyd that you'll hear more on Ummagumma and the second side of Atom Heart Mother and the first side of Metal, sort of the pastoral Floyd. I know this is going to be a little bit shorter than the rest of them, but as far as a review is concerned, as far as a prog rating, I'd give it about a 3.5. And the only reason I'm giving it 3.5 is that a lot of prog albums have a lot of variety sometimes, and this album has a lot of variety. So I would consider it a little above average on that, in that range, average to above average. So we're looking about 3.5, 3.5, somewhere in the area out of 5. My scale is always 5. So if you're listening to it and you're thinking, wow, 3 out of 10, that's crazy. No, 3 out of 3 or 3.5 out of 5. Everything 5. 5 is the limit. Progressive. Is this album progressive? It is for Floyd, because they're trying to find their path again. This is the album immediately after Saucer Full of Secrets. So as far as offering variety and where the Floyd were going is very progressive, I'm going to give it a 3.5 on the progressive scale. So it's a decent album. It's recommended for people who love 60s music, die-hard Pink Floyd fans. Definitely not an essential album. I think it's a fun album. I think you may enjoy it. So I recommend it, for the people who are into the 60s sort of style of music, or if you're a die-hard Pink Floyd fan. Recommended by MrProggers. I think the next episode we'll do something a little different before I get into Ummagumma. Or I may combine the two videos, Ummagumma and whatever else I'm going to do. So until next time, check it out.